From my earliest days I can remember, I have been drawn to technology. I think fondly of this tremendous picture my mother took and added to our family scrapbook of me on the phone labeled Techno-man. I've owned probably half of every phone that's ever been made. I've been fascinated by the smartphone development. Not that I thought it was going to fulfill some perfect use case or it would provide some greater happiness to my life, but simply I just thought it was fun to play with as much technology as possible. To see how one company would do software or hardware versus another, and the potential tools that it could bring to our lives. However, somewhere from my childhood curiosity to my adulthood, did technology end up taking on an unhealthy part of my life? If I tried to avoid my role in this entirely, I would just argue that the rise of algorithms and the attention economy were to blame. But the truth is, I'm just someone that lacks the self-discipline to put these devices down, to keep the apps off of my phone, or to have healthy boundaries with them. Partially because at my core, I know that I am still the techno-man that loves to have a beat on this market. But one fateful day, my partner changed everything for me when in a moment of frustration, she expressed, "You are always on your phone." I guess I never realized just how much I used my phone, but she did, and something had to change. In that moment, I realized that I had lost something. I'd lost my discipline, my attention, my ability to be in the moment, and ultimately, well, I'd lost my peace. And so, as with any loss, this review might be a little bit different, but we're going to be doing it through the lens of grief. Let's begin. When I first unboxed the Light phone, they invite you into the experience with this quote: "The Light phone is for going light. It is a choice. How will you experience your life today? Appreciate your time. Life is right now. Much love, Light." My first reaction to this was less than loving. It was denial at its core. I hadn't been missing life. Okay, you little mini Kindle, whatever you say. I just saw that as a bunch of marketing BS. I don't use my phone that much. Are you kidding me? I mean, sure, I check Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat every day, and I obviously check my email and scroll through Reddit or a news article on The Verge, or I might watch 2 hours of YouTube shorts before getting out of bed. I may have my headphones in 24/7 listening to a podcast, audiobook, or music. I might play a game here or there, maybe for a couple hours. I might go down a couple rabbit holes and research about stuff that's clearly important. But all of that isn't a problem, is it? I mean, just look around. It's normal stuff. That's what people do on their phones. I'm just, getting my money's worth, I guess, out of the power of this device. And I'm learning so much on this rabbit deep dive for all of these YouTube videos. I mean, sure, I might have bought 8 phones in the time that most people use one, but there's surely a lot worse things that I could be spending that money on. I don't have a problem. My gut tells me I don't think I'm only talking about myself here. I've had the wonderful fortune of working with children in my previous lines of work, and I have seen firsthand the incredible grip that technology, and in particular phones, have on kids. I've seen the genuine terror that they experience when their phone is taken away or when it goes missing. And app developers are incentivized financially to make their apps as engaging as possible. The more time we spend in their apps, the more money they make, or the more data they have to show their investors on usage metrics or milestones for monthly active users. As a result, the apps have only begun to get stickier, and I would arguably say worse. Sure, many of us still get to experience incredible things with our smartphones. They're not holding us back that much. We get to travel, we get to go to concerts, we have social engagements with our friends on the weekends. But I have to admit, I think even these things have been marred by our addictions to technology. The moment a band comes on stage, an army of smartphones goes up into the air to capture video recordings of the entire concert. And you know we're totally gonna go back and watch those again at some point, and it's absolutely gonna sound and look exactly like it did that night. I don't think weddings would have to put out a sign saying, please keep your phone in our pockets and be present in this incredible moment if we didn't have a problem with them. And how often do we gather around a campfire, go to a restaurant with all of our friends, and the moment the conversation begins to fiddle out, we all just kind of reach for our phones and scroll in an isolated silence. Maybe this isn't a problem. Or maybe just like me, you're still in stage 1, denial. So I remember when I first ordered my light phone back in the summer of 2019, and I told my partner that I'm doing this as a measure of trying to be better about cell phone usage and to be more present. And we both agreed it was great, and we couldn't wait to see the difference that it would make. And then I got the thing, and god damn was it rough. The e-ink screen, it typed slow, crazy slow. And often it would have errors in it. I mean, you try and manage to fit your fat little fingers on a screen this big. And at the time, there was no movable cursor on the screen. And so if you got a word wrong, you had to delete everything back up to that error, and then retype everything slowly, remind you, and hope you didn't hit another key wrong along the way on this 3-inch display. At the time, there was no speech to text, so you just dealt with the screen. There were no picture messages or ways to engage with links, so you hoped that no one would ever send you a menu or an idea of where to go for the weekend. The battery, which is the size of an Apple Watch battery, would drain every time you so much as looked at the thing. And at the time, it had no music player, no podcast player, no alarm, no GPS, no notes, no calendar. All it did was text, call, and have a calculator. It was brutal. The amount of times I would pick up the device to hit one of its walls and just yell out, "Damn it," was countless. But that was 2019 light phone. In 2024, the device is much different. And my relationship with anger around this digital detox, it has drastically changed since then. In 2024, the light phone has made significant strides in closing the gap between the necessary tools that a typical smartphone provides, while stalwartly defending against the endless feeds that make these devices so addicting and sticky. The screen is much more responsive with better texting systems. It has a functional and private, albeit slow, GPS powered by Here Maps. It recently added the ability to Google a business either by name or keyword, such as coffee in so-and-so town, to get their hours of operation, addresses, and even reviews using anonymized and private Google API. It has a fully featured calendar tool that, if you want, can integrate with your current calendar, assuming it's iCloud or Google. There's also this thing called CalDAV support, but let's be honest, no one knows what that means. It has a notes app, a podcast player, a music player, times and alarms, calculator, and a brilliantly creative approach to pictures and links by emailing them to you to view later, so you can remain in the moment. So where's the anger? I think the question you have to ask yourself is, would you prefer an anger that is rooted in despair or frustration? Here's an example. I recently went back to using my Pixel smartphone, namely because long messages on the e-ink display were getting annoying, and I had convinced myself that I needed the functionality of a flagship smartphone. It didn't take long for old habits to come back. I remember one morning laying in bed for over an hour just watching YouTube shorts until I realized what I was doing, and I threw my phone in a pile of clothes and just let out this sad and defeated, "God damn it." A moment of remorse and regret for the time that I had just let pass and waste away. So I went back to my light phone. And I was out at a meeting where I needed to look something up, and I wasn't able to in the moment. And I equally felt this moment of anger for the limitations that I impose not just on myself, but on the group around me. I promised them that I'd follow up by email the next day, and I did, but it was annoying in the moment. Or another time, I had went to a concert with all my friends, and they required scanning a QR code from a very certain app that couldn't be printed out for whatever reason. So I had to drag my Pixel phone just to enter the door and see a concert. Frustrating, but a trade-off of having to use a device like this. Using the light phone will be frustrating. It will even make you genuinely angry sometimes. I promise you that much. But I have to admit, I prefer to be angry and frustrated by occasional limitations that I placed upon myself than falling into despair and endless cycles of doom scrolling that the attention economy placed on me. One of the most frequent comments I see on discussions about the light phone looks something like this. If it had this app or this tool, then I could use it. I've been looking at this thing for so long, but it just doesn't have this thing, so there's no way I can use it. Maybe that app for you is Spotify, or banking, or authenticators, or work scheduling apps, or ebooks, or something of the sort. For me, this comment best encapsulates stage 3, bargaining. I like what I see. I like the idea of what it proposes. I think it could be beneficial to me, but I just need a little bit more to make it work. Or if it was only $50 cheaper, $100 cheaper, or whatever have you, then I could make it work. So a bit of a disclaimer here. I have not been a consistent user of my light phone since 2020. It's a device that I return to most frequently over any other devices that I buy, but I almost always go back to a full-powered smartphone. A couple months here and there on light, a couple months here and there on a traditional smartphone. But there are a couple observations in my 4 years of doing this. First, I've noticed that learned behaviors of using a light phone do translate to a full smartphone until learned behaviors kick back in. What do I mean by that? When using a light phone, you are not reliant on your device at all. And so you have to learn to use your computer more often for research or entertainment, or a tablet or something of the sorts. I find myself that even with a full smartphone, when going back, I tend to stick to this pattern by reaching for my computer more often than the phone itself. But slowly, I will start falling back into more power user territory. I check emails often, even if I put those notifications on silent. I go back into that cycle of hell, checking Facebook, then Instagram, then Threads, then YouTube, then back to Facebook, and so on and so forth. And no matter how much I promise myself that I can bargain with this device, I know that ultimately I will lose from its allure, because I'm competing not only with my own addictive personality, but also a multi-billion-dollar attention economy. I lose on opportunities to be creative. I will lose on opportunities to call someone rather than text them. I lose on hours of sleep from all the scrolling, and I lose the peace that I gain from not falling into the traps of FOMO that social media can bring as I compare myself to my friends and my family. In my experience, and perhaps others out there like me, there is no being half in with your smartphone. Or think of it in the words of Kai Tong, co-founder of Light. He says this in an article with The Verge. We are against the chaos of modern smartphones, and it's trying to find better ways to get the features people want without the chaos that so often comes with those devices. It's a tricky balance to strike. For some, you can walk that line, but for those of you like me, we will fall off every time. Embracing the light phone as a primary device also brings some additional hurdles to be considered. The onboard GPS is fine, but for most users would agree that purchasing a dedicated GPS system for your car is just the better way to go. Two-factor authentication services. I had to purchase a YubiKey. I actually highly recommend them, even if you're using a smartphone, instead of relying on Google Authenticator or something of the like. No more Spotify or YouTube Music or Pandora or any other ones meant going back to purchasing music the old-fashioned way, which, to be honest, not only better supports your favorite artist in a really difficult time for the music industry, but also made me be much more intentional about music that I really needed in my life. Did I really like that song or just enjoy having it in the background? Or sometimes just to embrace silence and be in the thoughts and the boredom of my own head. Now, banking apps and Venmo were gone, so I had to rely on doing all of my banking and peer-to-peer payment needs on a tablet or when I got back to my computer at home. No camera means no ability to capture moments. Or you could do like me and just playfully frame the moment, make a little click with your eye and let the image burn into my brain for as long as I can remember, or just let it be forgotten and be thankful that I got to experience it that day. No camera, though, also means no ability to scan QR codes, which are increasingly becoming prevalent for not only viewing menus, but now paying bills. The thing is, using a light phone slows down everything. Not just texting, which it will, it slows down everything. And it does require supplemental devices to really be a long-term replacement for your primary device, in my opinion. As we enter this era of AI, I can't help but feel depressed. I think I speak for most people when I say the following. Investors really want AI. It's all we're talking about these days. But no real humans out there want AI. No one I talk to is excited about this crap. AI degrades us of all of our creativity. It offers quick fixes to questions with answers that are, let's be honest, only occasionally correct. And it robs us of the value that comes from research and cross-reference. It's also literally robbing journalists and artists of their beautiful prose and their visions. Beyond that, big tech is scraping tremendous amounts of data from you in order to better target you with ads and to power their AI systems. At the time of this writing, the Department of Justice is currently in a legal dispute with Google for practices that violate antitrust. As part of this ruling, leaked documents showed the terrifying data collection practices of Google. They read your emails, your Google Docs, they view your photos, they train their systems on it, they track your location at all times, when you engage with your phone or your TV, they know when you're walking, running, driving, and the patterns of that, so they know the best times to target you with ads. And it's not just them. Meta, formerly known as Facebook, their pixel follows you around web, watching your every click, and the things that you watch, the things you don't click on, your reactions to the posts you see on their websites, and they use that to target you with ads and information that might not be truthful, relevant, or even written by a human. But it makes them money, so who cares? I don't know about you, but that shit just makes me depressed. It's another reason I really admire the team at Light. Every tool they implement is carefully thought out on how to avoid data collection practices, endless feeds, or advertising. The podcast tool leverages Apple Podcasting's API to reduce tracking from Google and Meta. The maps are powered by Here, which is worse than Google Maps and Waze, I'll be honest, but it also doesn't track your location at all times and share that information with advertisers. Even the newly integrated directory tool lets you Google a business is thoughtfully done to anonymize your searches. Now, Light, the company, eats the cost of these decisions because it values its users. But that's also why this phone comes at a premium price despite its limitations. Yes, this little device that can't do emails or search the web or do your apps or anything like that, it's $299 before tax and a carbon offset, which you should do. And people look at that price and think it's crazy. But here's the truth. Nothing is free. And protection from data collection, it is a premium privilege in 2024. And these practices and the exceptional transparency of the development team makes me just a little less depressed and a lot more willing to deal with the limitation that comes with a device like this. All right, let's bring it all together. When considering this, I'm reminded of the initial growing pains that come with developing a new habit. When I first got back into running, I could barely go a mile without breathing heavy, and my pace was half of what it used to be. When I first made a commitment to start working out, I would come home sore and I could barely finish my reps. I'd plan to go 2-3 times a week and it'd end up turning into 2 because I just got too sore. But then one day that soreness just seemed to go away. Running and lifting no longer seemed like a chore and just became part of my day. The soreness turned into something that didn't just provide me purpose, but genuine joy that would carry into the rest of my day. And without those things, my day felt off. This experience is what going light was like for me. I had these moments of initial soreness in the first few weeks, frequently looking back at the smartphone I'd placed in a drawer and thinking of switching my SIM card back over and saying this was a dumb idea. But then one day it just stopped being hard. And I was able to look behind me and see just how much I had accomplished since I started using the phone. I noticed how much quicker I got out of bed in the morning. I noticed how when I was bored, I read a book instead of scrolling through Reddit. I've been writing more, something I've always wanted to do. And I've been having these long and beautiful phone calls with family and friends alike. When I'm on the train riding into downtown, I get to talk with strangers on the train, or I talk with strangers at the bar because I have nothing else to keep my attention. I feel more, present. I guess it goes back to that first message that I remember I saw as I both excitedly and anxiously opened the box. And I was greeted with a message that said, "The light phone is for going light. It is a choice. How will you experience life today? Appreciate your time because life is right now. Much love, Light." 4 years later, that message is the core of who I hope to be today, tomorrow, and far into the future. No longer am I constantly on my phone. Now I am present with myself, my community, and the people that mean the most to me. To the love that you extended me that day, much love back to you, Light Team. Recently, the company announced the Light Phone 3, their most accessible on-ramp for their philosophy on tech. The Light Phone 3 strips away the e-ink, which admittedly makes me a little sad, for a more responsive AMOLED display, while retaining the distinctive matte branding of Light. It adds more storage for more music and future tools, and lots of pictures, and the biggest change is the addition of a camera, which will allow users to capture moments and engage with those pesky QR codes. The device is future-proofed and is built with sustainability in mind, so we can have replaceable parts on our phone. So as our batteries die, we can change it out rather than having to buy a new device. So we don't contribute to more electronic waste. Now through July 15th, the Light Phone 3 will have a special pre-sale price of $399, with orders anticipated to ship in January of 2025. Depending on the number of pre-orders they get, the final price can hopefully drop from its estimated retail of $799. That cost is already a deal breaker to many, for me included. No way would I pay that. But unfortunately, it does reflect the privacy-focused approach, the cost of production at their scale in this economy, and the providing frequent updates for years to come at no additional cost to the user. At $399, I think it is a steal for the benefits that this device will give back to you. The question I think you should ask is, what is your time and attention worth at the end of the day? If you were light curious, I encourage you to pre-order and take the plunge, or purchase the more affordable Light Phone 2, which will continue to be supported for years to come. It will come with grief, but on the other hand, I believe that like me, you will discover a better version of yourself and your relationship with the technology in your life. It's a phone that's designed to be used as little as possible. It's a phone that playfully teases you to rediscover what it means to be human. And for that reason, I highly recommend being a part of the light phone community, whether you buy the 2 or you pre-order and join me with the light phone 3. Thanks for watching my first ever tech review. This has been something I have dreamed to do, but I was always too shy to do. If you found this helpful or compelling, let me know. If there are ways I can make it better, I'd love to know that too. I'm considering recording a separate video with essential tips and tricks to transition to a light phone on a more long-term basis. Or I highly recommend the work of Jose Briones on YouTube, who focuses on dumb phone and digital minimalism. I look forward to your feedback. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a happy and a wonderful rest of your day.